You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 14th workshop for the Michigan City Wheel Tax and Road Funding. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
So I like to be on time, so we're going to start at 5 o'clock. And this meeting is specifically about the wheel tax for Michigan City. This is not to talk about all of 1461. This is specifically about the wheel tax for Michigan City. I want to make sure that we keep that line of sight as we go through this meeting. This isn't specifically about the broad bill. This is really about the wheel tax, the impact that it could have on Michigan City if legislation goes through downstate. I know that I did talk to our attorney about preparing, because I know she talked to Councilman Privolinski, something that we might possibly be able to get on the agenda. Ask for suspension of the rules to maybe add something if you want something to go on the agenda this week about the wheel tax, about the road funding bill if you are in opposition of it. So you might want to think about getting that done. So the agenda, what we're going to cover, just basic road funding 101, the funds that we're using right now for road funding in Michigan City, the uses and the restrictions of those different funds. Then I'm going to cover CCMG because I think people need to understand what that is first before we talk about the wheel tax, so that people understand a little. Kind of got to give you got to set it up first before we even get to the legislation. And talk. So right now in Michigan City, we use several different funds to fund maintenance, repair to our roadways. We use more the MVH fund. We also, so the MVH fund, I'll go more into detail, but that funds our street department. We also have local roads and streets. I will send this PowerPoint over to Gail so that the council and the public, if they want a copy of it, they can get a copy of it. The Riverboat Fund and the Redevelopment Commission basically have been funding the roadways for Michigan City for several years. The primary fund that is funding our streets is our MVH fund. And basically this is a distribution through the state to the county to us, and it's used for the construction and maintenance of streets and alleys. Legislation was passed several years ago where they made MVH split 50-50 between restricted and unrestricted funds. What was talked about was saying that we were spending, the majority of the funds on people and things and not actual streets getting repaired. So they put legislation in downstate that passed around 2017-ish, somewhere around there. I don't remember the date. But 50% of our funds are used specifically for roadways. And then the other 50% funds are actual employees that work for the city. Our street department is funded by MVH. It talks about specific uses: construction, reconstruction, repair, maintenance, sprinkling, snow removal, weed cutting, and cleaning highways. It also includes curbs, cost sharing of railroad crossings, construction and maintenance equipment, traffic signals, safety zones, painting, etc. So there's a wide array of things that are covered in the MVH fund. But again, it's 50% restricted and 50% unrestricted. And this is in the IC code. So I'll go back so that you can look those codes up if you're interested in understanding. But the IC code, so this was done historically, and this was done through the state legislation. And again, through the state, at least 50% is into a restricted fund that's specifically for construction, reconstruction, and preservation. 50%. And then These are some other things. IC 814-2, the primary purpose, and that was the account for the state gasoline tax distribution. I know that Representative Prussell at a third House district meeting gave a little history and talked about this gas tax and some of the things that he shared, and whether we agree or disagree on it, were that, that gas tax happened, and then COVID happened, less people started driving, there was a time frame where there was a decline in vehicles are getting more efficient. Some of those things are impacting the money that the state is getting from the gas tax. Well, we know that the state has a surplus, and they've been running a surplus for several years. Specific uses, engineering, land acquisition. These are some things that still are in the code. It talks about resurfacing, maintenance, restoration, payment of principal and interest bonds sold to finance road projects, any local costs required to undertake road projects, and then the purchase, rental, or repair of highway equipment is also included as well. Special uses. And this is our local roads and streets fund. This is a different fund from NVH. This one here. This is the gasoline tax, and it's our local roads and streets. Our community crossings grant, basically, and this is an eye chart, but I'm just gonna read. So community crossings is a matching grant program for our roads, and it provides us a way to make improvements on our roads. CCMG, we just got $1.5 million. We were just awarded last week. Mm-hmm. But when we get to the legislation, there's some things that I would like to point out. So we are a city and town, population greater than 10,000. So we are responsible for a 50-50 match. Our 50-50 match comes from last year and this year we have money from redevelopment. We have money from Riverboat and NVH to equate for the $1.5 million this year. So that's how we're making our match this year in the budget. It comes from three sources: NVH, restricted, Riverboat, and $600,000 from the redevelopment commission. So $250,000 from NVH, $750,000 from Riverboat, and $600,000 from redevelopment commission. So annually we applied last year, we got 1.4 something million. And this year we got the full 1.5 million. So we're excited about that. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because there's legislation that has been brought forward, and I did print a few copies of the fiscal impact statement from the last amended version of it. And some of the things that it points out, and no knock to the smaller communities, but basically the way this will work is if you are a city or municipality, we're going to be forced to implement a wheel tax and to even receive the CCMG funds. So in order to get CCMG, we will be required to pass a wheel tax, a local tax on residents through the BMV to even be eligible to get the money. Now let me say this about our match, our riverboat funds. We talked about this, we did a workshop on this last year. The cash balance of the riverboat, and we went back 8 years, prior to, so 2 administrations. The cash balance of the riverboat has been pretty much depleted over time, starting 2016, 2017. So riverboat is not our backstop. Hammond just passed their wheel tax in the fall last year. A lot of the riverboat communities hadn't passed the tax because we used our riverboat funds as our backstop. But we know our riverboat funds are down. About 8.2, we're at $8.2 million. And I think at the heyday, I don't know, maybe 13 something, I don't know what it was back when it first started. But now with all of the competition and the way that Blue Chip is doing business, I think now we know, and we know based on COVID, that the riverboat money is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. But that's always been our backstop for getting projects done. It's just, relying on the riverboat. So what I gave you as far as the wheel tax is that the city can adopt a municipal wheel tax and surtax, which could generate an estimated for Michigan City $667,000 based on the maximum rates. I handed out a sheet that this was done by Baker Tilly last year. This is a little outdated. We were supposed to do a workshop in November, but we will be able to bring Baker Tilly to a council meeting or to another workshop and have them explain this. But in a nutshell, our options provide us the match that we would possibly need in the future. And we need to think about that. I know we prepared information about it. I think the biggest impact to local cities is that we're forced to do it, more so than it should be an option versus you can't get the CDCMG without it. I think it's really what it's come down to. But that bill has a lot of other things in it that impact us as well. But I don't want to get sidetracked by that. But I wanted you to see the numbers of what this would generate with the different options for the county wheel tax. The other issue, and I want to make sure that we're transparent about it, is the city of LaPorte has had a wheel tax since about 2016 or 2017. The county doesn't. So what will happen if the city passes it and the county passes it? That's double on our residents. And the question did come up, and I don't think we have received an answer to it. The question came up, isn't there a way to carve out our municipalities for this? I have not gotten an answer to that. I'll be in Indianapolis on Monday, but I have not received an answer to that question. So that would be a double tax on our residents if we do it. I don't know where the county sits on a wheel tax, but if we're forced to do it, Michigan City and LaPorte City, our residents will have a double impact with the wheel tax. So I want to make sure that that's perfectly clear, that could be the case. That's big. And I think that's one of my concerns is if we're forced to do it, we should not be billed twice if we have to do it. We should only have a city. We should get our money and let the county deal with everybody outside of the municipalities.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my stance on that. But right now, as it stands, this is where we're at. With the addition of these again, my concern is that we got other funds and other property taxes and other things that are going to be impacted as well. So all of the burden is going to be shifted to the cities and the localities to figure out how to make up revenues. And this is one of those things that's kind of being forced on us. So I encourage some type of resolution, as we continue in this next part of the session, to continue pushing for that, to make sure that we say we don't support it. We don't want to move forward. But again, I just received a briefing and I'll send it to the council members. We got to stay up on top of this stuff. These are things that are impacting us directly. Right now, this is where we're at with the wheel tax. I've given everybody a copy of this for you to have. Share it with, I don't care if you share, but this is what we received last year when we were considering it. I also gave you the AIM, the quick guide on it, and it talks about it. Now let's say for instance, the town of Long Beach, Trail Creek, they will only receive a county tax because they're less than 5,000 people. So they won't be double taxed. It will only be Michigan City and LaPorte that will be impacted by this. Right? Are there any other towns over 5,000?
I'm not sure. But you know what, Mayor, there may have been some amendments to that recognizes that double tax and may have carved it out.
I was told that it didn't. So I've talked to Senator Paul, so I'll confirm it. But that was one of the things that, it's kind of hard to do. It is convoluted. I'm like, okay, there are a lot of things that are convoluted. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
So, but this was after the amendment. So I'm not sure. So we'll double check that though. Yes, Tommy?
Westville will have over 5,000 if they include their inmates.
Oh, all right, Tommy.
Yeah, Westville is 5,257.
Well, they might be in there then. So again, this was just an overview from the newsletter from AIM. I met with them a couple of times, and this was talking about the 3 tiers. A couple of the changes that were in this bill about CCMG and the tiers. If your PACER rating, your overall PACER rating reaches a certain average, then your the restricted portion of your match of your MBH will go down. So right now we're 50-50. Instead it would be 40% if your PACER rating is higher. So they did put some nuggets in there, I guess you could call them, but it doesn't. It's still a tax, and it's a tax that the state is forcing us to implement if they go through with this. And it passed the House 72-21. So that's kind of where we're at. But I wanted to make sure that the public understood, what is happening, and if this passes and the council is forced to do this, this is not something that the council or the mayor is trying to push on the public. This is something that we're being forced to do, and the public should understand that. And call the representatives. Call Representative Pressel. He's one of the authors, and make sure your voice is heard about it, because it's going to directly impact your pocket. So I'll open it up for questions and comments for you all. Yes, Don.
Yeah, Mayor, I just have a comment. Because I spoke to both, and I'm talking about the effect it'll have on the township trustees, because the mayor didn't talk about that portion of it. But if this bill passes, then the township trustees are also going to have their budgets reduced 30%. And that 30% is going to go towards fixing roads. So, in both the Michigan Township trustee, or Lois Jasinski from Cold Spring Township, and Lisa Przykowski from LaPorte, whatever township she's in over there. Yeah, they're both, and she's the president of the Indiana Township Association, and they are both adamantly against this taxing, because they're going to lose 30% of their funding, and all the funding that goes to the trustees goes for helping the underprivileged and poor folks and stuff like that. So now, where do those folks are going to go to try to get help? So to me, it's a strain on not only the trustees, but also all the social agencies and the not-for-profits that have been trying to help the unfortunate people. So there's a magnitude of, in my mind,
the
disadvantage.
dominoes.
Yeah.
The dominoes are all gonna fall. I mean, and impact, different parts of our government,
Yep,
individuals,
society,
all of that.
yep.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Paul?
The handout that you gave on the county wheel tax estimates.
Yes.
At the top of the page, it says net surtax after reduction for branch fees.
Mm-hmm.
So on the calculation in the 10 on option number 2,
Mm-hmm.
it shows what it'll calculate. I'm interested on finding out how much the state is getting out of this for their administration.
Fees.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't realize when these things get passed, the state gets an administrative fee out of it, just like from the riverboat. Just like from the lit tax.
Is that the branch?
So see how much that is, what the percentage is,
Yeah.
or what they're taking off the top?
And I was reading through the bill, that this bill with, the thrust of it. Are you aware that they're gonna set up trying to set up a toll road authority that has the right to sell the toll road without it, if they have sold? I mean,
It's a lot.
this is dangerous. On the language in this bill. The governor can't stop it, the legislature can't stop it. Yet they have the sole right to sell it under if this thing is passed. So it's just like the way I look at it. Okay, you want me to pay a tax, but I got a problem with that. I really have a problem with toll roads in the state. And this is the reason being, is that when those toll roads are enacted, it's gonna put more pressure on the secondary roads. One main example, 421.
Yep.
They never improved that road. And I'm just saying is that if you wanna take out a position, or the council wants to take out a position, is there's room for a big discussion on this bill.
You bring up a good point. So one of the things that one of the discussion points and one of the things I'm concerned about is the traffic that you talk about and what kind of restrictions should we put on the city, our municipal boundaries and who comes in and out. Because I'm telling you, they're passing the scales, they're jumping off the highway now to bypass the scales. And if we start with a toll road, how many are gonna start coming through? We own Michigan Boulevard now, so we need to restrict that anyway. We should keep you go through certain cities and it says maximum load.
Yeah.
And then you have a police officer sitting there waiting on them, right? I mean, because we have to protect our roads. If we're gonna fix the roads, we have to protect the roads that we're fixing. Now, if they want to have alternate routes, I'm seeing more and more semis. I was driving 2012 to 12. You're seeing more and more truck traffic than ever before. And there's a reason for it. And if we start seeing tolling, it's going to be even triple. And we just need to make sure if we got to pass legislation and the attorneys will look at that, we're going to have to do something around weight capacity, types of vehicle. And if it's anything like a project, they have to get a pre-approved route like they did with NIPSCO. They have to get it approved. But we're gonna have to really restrict weight on our roads because we're gonna have to pay for them and they're making it harder for us to pay for them, so.
Yeah, Mary, something else to think about as a group and as a council is that, we had that workshop, 2-3 months ago with the highway department, and they were talking about doing these just making Highway 12
Mm-hmm.
3 lanes with a
Right.
turning lane in the middle. So now you're gonna restrict it down to 3 lanes. You're gonna have increased both vehicular traffic and semi-traffic. I mean, what a bottleneck
Right there.
that could become also.
Yeah, I agree.
Just something to think about, yeah?
And we got into that conversation yesterday about the prison property and the NIPSCO plant and that cross. Because we know it's dangerous. That area is dangerous coming around 12.
Yeah.
I mean, there's blind spots there that need to be resolved. I mean, I pull out. You have to almost pull all the way out before you can see who's coming. So
Yeah.
we know that's an issue. Tommy, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I remember there was talking about News and Views that back in the 1966 there was a municipal firm out of Chicago called the Gardner Group, and they projected that by the year 1990 that 421 was supposed to be dual lane all the way to Wanata down to Route 30, and our city limits was going to go all the way to Westville. They predicted we were going to have like 100,000 population. It was going to be the same size as Gary. It's what I'm saying, if we ever do get the wheel tax, I think the first thing we need to do is buy the equipment so we don't have to contract out the road striping. When I saw signal control specialist did the striping on Ohio Street or out of Benton Harbor, they just used this little machine that was looked like a riding lawnmower to do it. And I don't think that would cost that much money to get one of those.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at.
I don't think we should do the street department has no business doing the striping how they do it.
Well, we're looking at all things. I'm always hesitant with equipment and purchases. I told them until I know that they can take care of the equipment they have, we won't buy another piece. So I'm just, I'm a stickler for that. So yes, Councilwoman.
Here's the thought, I've been in so many states, I don't know where I may have seen this or if it's even possible in Indiana, but I've seen signs posted, truck deliveries, trucks restricted to local deliveries. So that's one thing I've seen, so that may be an option to look into also, along with the weight limits, if it's possible to do something like that.
Yeah, and we're talking about restrictions on Franklin Street downtown at certain times of the day, because they can't be blocking double lane street. Yes, Scott.
Do we have any idea what the county levy could be? I mean,
I have no idea, but I think there's a maximum $25 on the maximum is $25 on the
excise.
yes. So these are the maximum.
So
it would be double.
So what I'm seeing without the county is we'll do $65.
Right.
Do the maps,
Right.
and that's paid at the DMV with our annual
With your license and registration.
Okay. Second question is, if this bill that they're working on in Indy to push taxation on the cities, localities, how are you supposed to raise revenue when we also have a tax cap based on our
Good question.
3%?
Good question.
Are you supposed to send people a bill? Cities can't do. I don't think can do that.
No.
So they're going to shift all this to the cities, but the cities have no ability to raise revenue.
That's correct.
Swell. That's really good thinking down there.
That's correct.
That's magical thinking is what that is.
Yeah, and also we had some preliminary numbers done before all of the amendments, where the city of Michigan City could be impacted anywhere between $5 and $12 million property tax loss, and that's alarming in itself. So there's a lot to happen over the next couple of weeks. I know amendments were made this Wednesday that were reflective of House Bill 1402 that are now, that were in Senate Bill 1. So there's still a lot to kind of comb through on that and to gain an understanding of it. But it's just not us. It's all cities. It's all counties, all cities, all schools. So we're all in it together. It's just that the people who are voting on it, I guess, don't live in the cities or something or another. But it's alarming. I mean, so what is going to happen with that is now we're going to be forced to implement, like I said, food and beverage. You got food and beverage taxes. You got You know, if you have new hotels, you know, you do an additional tax on that for parks, and if you have any type of special tax, it's just putting the onus back on cities and towns to do it. So that's a true concern for all of us, but more to come. Alarm bells are here, but until we see what happens, it's kind of hard to say. Tracy?
I was just gonna say, just to keep in mind too, in regards to the 50/50 match of CCMG and the NVH for the corridor of Michigan Boulevard, and hoping to have that redone. And there's already an ordinance on the book as far as the weight loads for 18-wheelers. Sadly, I'm resident on Michigan Boulevard, and the 18-wheelers with their trailers that come through, and they're not going to the local businesses. They're using it as a crosswalk, as a pass-through. So if we can even start there of implementing and enforcing that ordinance that we already have on the books, will help out as well to get things started.
That's good to know. Tommy?
Yeah, back in 2006, I remember Indianapolis and the 9 Colorado counties around Marion County, they put on a 1% hotel and meal tax, and that's what they used to construct a Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think they're still paying on that.
Okay. Yes, Tim?
I don't get the rationale initially for linking the wheel tax with the excise tax. One is commercial, one is residential. Why, is there any way to separate the two out? You can't have one without the other right now.
So, just to clarify, so when I see the excise surtax, I see that in my head as a passenger vehicle. So
Right.
that would be the max you can do is $25. And then the wheel tax is actually for, in my mind, I use it as commercial.
Right.
So that's the max is 40, but according to the statute, a municipality has to adopt both. You can't separate them.
Well,
So that's
my
why we collectively refer.
They said, it
That's my
says,
question. I
yeah.
don't get the rationale for that.
I don't know.
Is there
either.
any way to separate that out?
Not
Because
according to the
residences
statute.
aren't impacted by the wheel tax.
Yeah,
They're only impacted by the excise tax.
correct.
but they call it the wheel tax.
Yeah, they collectively
Yeah.
refer to it.
Yeah, they call the whole thing, so I guess the legislation, the way they wrote it, but you can't do one without the other.
Can I call my car a school bus?
Might be helpful. Any other questions? Yes, Paul?
As I'm reading further in the legislation, I don't see anything in here because they're trying to justify this also by the more efficient vehicles and less driving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any kind of,
Data?
what can I say, a fee for hybrids or electric vehicles in this legislation. And there's also the point that we touched on earlier about who controls the assets. I think that's a leading question on this legislation. And I think that it's a shame that Mr. Pressler, Representative Pressler isn't here. Because if I'm looking at it, you're looking at it, it should be answered. And something should be done to clarify that specific issue so people aren't double taxed.
And again, timing is what it is, but I will make sure that any follow-up that we do, that again, that he's included, and but I will get the answers from Representative Pressler, and making sure we cover it. I know that their days have been long, and it's going to continue, but again, these additional taxes are going to be important. So can I repeat what you just said though, Paul? So are you asking, is there anything
I'm
in
asking
the...
for clarification.
Well, no, I have one question.
They're gonna the way the legislation is written, if the communities that enact this tax, say you guys enact it at any amount,
Right.
can the county then pass something and add that on to our excise tax when we go to the license bureau? I think that's the pressing question right now.
So as I'm reading the amendments to it, they have a June 30th, 2025 date built in here, that if the county and the city both enacted an ordinance before that date, then that double tax would apply. But it's carved out that if they're enacted after that date, then the double taxation does not apply.
Oh, okay.
Well, the double taxation, correct, because one unit wouldn't be eligible to receive any funding mechanism. So that's,
So we
You know,
would
that's
have to
not-
pass ours first?
No,
no,
it would have to be after. So
It-
yes, but if we both passed it before the June 30th date, then
You pay.
Michigan City would have the dual tax.
Okay, that's good. But no, my other question, Paul, was about the electric and hybrid.
yeah.
Did you want me to ask the question
Why
about
aren't
if
they
there's,
in the legislation to have a surcharge on them?
Yep,
I'm getting a surcharge,
yep.
and I pay my gas tax. That was changed 9 years ago under the whole thing about dividing up that money.
got it,
See, people gotta remember, they upped that gas tax and they upped the sales tax. And that was introduced by Representative Soliday out of Porter County.
all right. Yes, Nancy?
It's my understanding that electrical vehicles are already being taxed. That's my understanding.
But I'm gonna
Like,
confirm
get
it,
Yeah, clarify
clarification
that.
on it, yeah.
confirm it, make sure. No, that's all good.
Either way, we don't wanna be in a hurry to do anything with this.
No,
No,
we'll wait.
yeah,
We gotta study it.
yeah, so,
Yeah, I think it's
Summer
the strategy.
Strategy,
yep.
yeah.
Summer project.
Any additional comments? Any additional comments? So, again, I'll be down there Monday. I know I have a meeting on our 1448 bill for our riverboat money. But I will be talking specifically about these items as well. So more to come. What I'll probably try to do is maybe do a workshop just on legislative updates. It's probably not a bad idea at this point to do maybe 3 weeks from now and then another towards the end of session to see where we land, so that we can ask questions, and do all that. So. And I will make sure I get the information out to all of the elected officials for LaPorte County. I think part of that was on me, but I did set the date based on making sure it's on a Friday so that they can participate. So, but I will do a better job with that the next time. But I thank you. I have all your questions that you have. I will make sure I follow up with those and then get some answers back to all of you for that. So I'll adjourn.
Thank you.
So 35 cents a gallon. So if you're counting.